This is 5.2, lesson 2. For this lesson, we are going to graph systems of equations. But this time, our equations are not going to be in slope-intercept form. Okay, so not in slope-intercept form is like what we did in 5.2 lesson 1, where we had to make all of our equations in the form y equals mx plus b. So just as a review, the m represents our slope, and the b represents our y-intercept. So describe how to fast graph a linear equation. So the first thing you're going to do is graph the y-intercept. Then we're going to use rise over run to graph the slope. Once we have these 2 points, we're going to connect the 2 points to form a line. So our first two are just going to be review. We did this in 5.1 where we just graphed systems of equations that are already in slope-intercept form for us. So number 1, the first equation, y equals 5 over 2x minus 4. The first thing we graph is our y-intercept, which is negative 4. 5 over 2 tells us how to move. 5 is positive, so we're going to go up 5, and then we're going to go right 2. That gives us our new point. We'll do the same thing again, go up 5 and over 2, up 5 and over 2. We'll go the opposite direction, so we'll go down 5 and left 2. And then we'll go ahead and connect all of these. Then our second equation, we begin at positive 3. And then our slope is negative 1. So that means we're going to move down 1, right 1 to get our new point. We will continue to go down 1, right 1, and we already see our intersection here. We'll continue to do this just a little bit so we can draw our line a little bit better. Now what we have to remember is that just because we've graphed it, you haven't actually found the solution. You need to make sure you tell me the ordered pair that is the solution. And in this case, that is 2, 1. For the second one, our first equation is y equals 1/2 x plus 5. So we're going to begin at positive 5. Our slope is 1/2, so we're going to rise 1, run 2 to get our new point. We'll continue that pattern all the way through our graph. Then our second equation, we begin at negative 1. And our slope has us go down 5 and right 2 to get our next point. We would go the opposite direction. We're going to go up 5 and left 2, and we can see that that is going to be our point of intersection right there. So we can go ahead and connect these 3 points. And our point of intersection is going to be -2, 4. So our slope-intercept form is always going to be y equals mx plus b. But sometimes not both of our equations are going to look like that. So this first equation here is in slope-intercept form. It's ready to graph, but our second one is not. So in order to have it just say y equals, for y to be by itself, our first step is going to be to put equations in slope-intercept form. And in this case, that would mean that we're going to divide everything by 3 to get a y equals. So let's do some practice with this. Example number 1. Is this one ready or is it not? Well, our first equation is ready, but our second one is not. So that's the one that we are going to work on changing over here in this box. So we're going to rewrite it. In order to get y by itself, we just discussed that we need to divide everything by 3. So we have y equals, remember there's a 1 in front of x, so this is going to be a 1/3 x plus 6 divided by 3 is 2. Now this equation is ready to graph. Okay, so let's start with our first equation up here. Our y-intercept is going to be -3. And then our slope is -4/3. So that means we're going to go down 4 and then right 3 to get our new point. And then we're going to go the opposite direction. We're going to go up 4, left 3, and then we can do that again. Up 4, left 3, and then up 4, left 3. Then we can draw our line. And then our second equation is really going to be this one over here. Our y-intercept is +2, and we are going to go up 1 and right 3 to get our new point. But really we can tell already, if we go the opposite direction, that is going to be our point of intersection. So we can go ahead and draw our line. And our solution is going to be -3, 1. And just like before, we need to double check that this works in both equations, and we're going to use our original equations up here. So our first one's going to be it's going to be 1 equals -4/3 times -3 minus 3. -4/3 times -3 is just going to give us 4. And 4 minus 3 is 1. So the first equation works. Our second equation, we're going to do 3 times 1 equals -3 plus 6. 3 times 1 is 3. -3 plus 6 is also 3. So this works. Our second one here, is this one going to be ready or not? Well, our first equation is ready, but our second one is not. So we need to change that into slope-intercept form. Okay, the first thing to get y by itself is we need to subtract 5x from both sides. So we get 2y equals -5x minus 8. And then we're going to divide everything by 2. So we get y equals, again, leave this as an improper fraction. It's going to help us with graphing. So -5/2x, and then -8 divided by 2 is going to give us -4. So let's go back to our first equation and graph. Our first equation, our y-intercept is a +4. And then our slope is 3/2, so we're going to rise 3 and run 2. 1, 2. To get our new point, we'll continue that pattern. Go the opposite way, we're going to go down 3 and left 2. And then we'll draw our line. And then our second equation is this one over here. where our y-intercept is -4. And then our slope is -5/2, which means we go down 5. And we go right 2. Okay, and then we'll go the opposite direction. We will go up 5 and left 2, and we can see that that right there is our point of intersection. So we can go ahead and connect our points. Our point of intersection is going to be -2, 1. So again, we need to double check this using our original equations. So our first equation is going to be 1 = 3/2 times -2 plus 4. That's going to be 1 = -3 plus 4. And -3 plus 4 is 1, so that one works out. Our second equation, we're going to do 5 times -2 plus 2 times 1 equals -8. 5 times -2 is -10. 2 times 1 is 2. And -10 plus 2 is -8, so that one works. Okay, and then our last one, putting linear equations in slope-intercept form. This one's just a little bit different format, but it works the same. We're still trying to get y by itself. So we have a -14x, so we're going to add 14x to move it to the other side. So we have 2y = 14x minus 4. And then we'll divide everything by 2. So we get y = 7x minus 2.